Hello, welcome to the snare video. So in the kick video, we made a nice sounding okay kick in just one citrus and some compression, that kind of thing. It was all cool and elegant and great, and so prepare for yourself for that to not be the case at all for the snare. The original conception of the snare, I mean, around when I learned how to do that with the kick, I also learned more or less the basics of how to do it with the snare, but it didn't work out so well. So this time when I did it in a way that actually worked, it involved a lot of separation of various parts and a lot of post and trial and error, and I'm going to have to double check everything in order for me to do this right again. So, like we said in the first part, what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that all the citruses operators are at 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So many zeros. It's like 3, 5, it's 8 zeros. It's a lot of zeros. And we're going to do the pitch fall, and we're going to do this with the 200 hertz, like we said, because we want it to be a 200 hertz snare. I want my EQ up here so we can see what's happening. I am a visual dude. So, my initial experiments led me to believe that I would, want to have the biggest pitch fall possible so that everything was hit harder and then it sounded that kind of thing. But you can sort of tell that's just not going to work. And as it turns out, it's actually a lot better if the initial pitch fall is less devastating. And let's see, actually, this also has to be kind of fast. Kind of fast and a little harsher. Not that harsh. I'm gonna zoom in a bit so I can see what's going on. Do. Yeah, so do the whole sustained end thing. Yep, and then we're gonna go to the volume and have it be almost as long, but not entirely. It's a tiny bit longer. Let's turn snap off. I don't need snap. We don't need no snap. Okay, that makes pretty good sense for the very beginning of this. This is going to be the foundation. A snare has a lot more going on in it than a kick does, which means that it's not just going to be, here's the bass, and then here's the click, and here's some sort of external stuff. There's a lot going on that just sort of is a little bit, is not as straightforward. So I made this guy a copy. I mean, this way I have most of the settings that I want still on there. But the purpose of this guy is going to be to basically be a kind of a metallic hit kind of thing. Clicky business. So we're going to be doing that too. Yeah, so to do that, this one's like, unlike the kick. The kick was more about trying to sound, I mean, this is a little bit like trying to sound acoustic, but we're not really trying to make an acoustic snare. We're trying to make a dubstep-y snare, which has a lot of extremely synthetic elements to it. So we're not going to try super hard to sound legit. We're just going to try super hard to make something that can work well with the mix, which may or may not sound kind of like that's actually going to work with what we're going to do, but you'll see. Have faith. Have faith, I say. All right, so no pitch at all on you. And the volume could be a lot, just so much sharper, not that much sharper. I thought I turned a snap off. And by thought, I mean, I 100% know I did. Yep, and then, so this gets FM'd. Actually, so one cool thing about realistic snares, just talking about snares having realistic properties, is that you have this kind of harmonic activity. But, I mean, that's not going to last. This is just going to... Let's see, where do you want to be? Pretty high. Sure, something like that. Indeed. All kinds of sweetness there. And then... change the pitch. You go up really freaking fast. So we have that behavior. because this is changing the pitch. This is changing the pitch of the FM, which is affecting this guy's behavior to cause that particular effect. And now we're gonna do like a layer inside here, because I do try to keep things sort of efficient, but it doesn't always work out that well. You can be a little quieter than that. Five thousand-ish range. 20. Hee. That doesn't work. Or maybe it does. That's right, because the rest of this is 20 hertz, you know, for this kind of thing, but we're gonna include all these higher harmonics, which make it a lot more than 20 hertz. Nice. And so you get a nice sharp volume curve too. So a lot of this isn't going to make a lot of sense when we're creating the generation stage, but because a lot of this, there's actually like mixing involved inside the patcher to make this work. It'll make a lot more sense when we get there. That's kind of like what I wanted. Okay. That's that guy. There's going to be 4 of these. You again. Right click, save preset. Whenever you see this icon on anything, this little arrow button and this little paper, that means that you can click and drag and drop it anywhere. And then with presets, this means that you can clone things pretty quickly. You can do that with a lot of stuff, but if you ever see that anywhere, you can do that with whatever you want. Even this, I can be like, yeah, cool, look, there it is. If I had done anything different here. All right, what's the third one? Oh, noise. Okay, so noise is going to be a huge portion of how this works. And we're going to utilize a lot of what we did with the band passing to kind of make this work with like an opening and closing effect. So I don't want volume on you, or do I? I believe I do. Yeah. So this first one, we're gonna kind of, again, like when I did this, I modeled this after a standard was already made, and I was checking the frequency behavior, and so a lot of the decisions about where I put things, it came from that. Came from things like seeing a particular spot of a thing existing in the higher or lower frequencies, and then trying to create material that existed in that area. My question is, how do I want this to go? To go like this. Okay, like we did with the kick. And remember to end your envelopes. Unlike the kick, these will have their time to shine because the snares have longer tails than kicks, so it ends up working out better. Yeah. So let's go to volume on the filter. Yeah. Sounds like somebody beatboxing, doesn't it? And the envelope. And then we're also going to put it in number 2 here. And the purpose of this is essentially we're doing the same thing, but we're going to put it in a different part of the spectrum. And we can have different movement on it, which will make the layer sound just a little bit more natural. Yeah, that works a little bit better. Same thing with the resonance. So resonance in bandpass mode, when you're doing a bandpass, what that's essentially meaning is that it's like the width of, it's the width of the filter. So a bandpass, has a width, and then the resonance controls the width of the band. So that's what we're doing. We're basically going poosh like that. That behavior is what makes that sound. And that weirdness is happening because we didn't end our envelopes. Now, one more, dude, before we start doing things with this. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright, so this guy. Okay, this one is where I'm attempting to actually create the metallic resonance I was talking about with the acousticness. So for this, I'm actually going to keep the motion from the original, this 200 hertz guy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little extra harmonics in the square region. So you can hear that now. That kind of sound. But I'm going to screw with it a little bit. I'm going to FM it with the same pitch. So in this case, 200 hertz. That was a bit much. Do I have any kind of movement on this? Whoa, dampening. I don't think I do. So why is it? That's right, because the pitch of this is moving. So I guess actually I want this to move the pitch in the exact same way. Can I copy this state? I can. Pitch, paste state, bam. However, not quite what I wanted to do. The volume's off on this, isn't it? So it's sort of ran in a little bit. No, that meant this guy, which I guess I'm already doing. This can last a little bit longer. We might need to change that depending on some things. As long as it sounds kind of like a, it has that kind of percussive nature. We can make that work. All right, so we have our 4 bits. Now we're actually going to do some stuff with it. Now, when I use real snares, one of the things that I do is I compress it, but I separate it into its sort of component parts. But since we've already done that, we don't really need to do that per compressor. But the value of doing this is that we're going to do something like this. We're going to ensure that the peak peaks up respectably high, but comes down much sharper. Like so. That's the first step. Now, all of these other sounds that we have, like these guys, what's going to happen is that I'm going to distort and like crunch them up in a whole bunch of ways. This dude is basically going to go pretty straight and a rather harsh piece of distortion on it. And that's mostly to give it extra edge. And I might want to bring that down. Let's put this in a channel and turn it down, because a lot of this is going to get kind of loud. And the master limiter can go away. Because that explains a lot. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then the noise, I'm going to separate into this guy has noise. I'm going to separate it into, let's see, I put EQ here just to create a change. This part's going to control like how kind of like sort of the clappy range of things. It'll sound clappier with a particular frequency range accentuated, but that depends on what this all sounds like together, which we haven't gotten that far yet. So now the distortion. This distortion is going to be kind of regular, but not that regular. And the value of this is that it doesn't sound quite as smooth as this noise usually does, and we can kind of layer that in there. Now the problem with doing that though is that it'll screw with the envelope, the snappiness of it. We don't necessarily want to have that, so what we're going to do is we're going to put in a fruity balance, which allow us to control just amount of volume, and we're going to put in a post envelope using an envelope controller. Articulator 1, activate, bam, envelope, get rid of that, and then pretty small one. I think I did that right. Too short. Yeah. So now we can have the excess boost of the distortion, but it still keeps it in line with how we want this to roll up here. I do also want to distort the fundamental, which is this guy up here. But this is going to be kind of a special thing. Again, kind of like an extra beefy idea like we were doing with this guy down here. And actually, he'll also require extra motion with that. So distorting the fundamental is about creating saturation with the mid-range. However, distorting it the way that we are, it's going to cause a lot of extra harmonic activity that we really don't want. So that's what the EQ is for. And while we're at it, not this guy, but actually, yes, this guy. This is the noise, right? So let's put the noise. I want to put the noise in there too, so it distorts it against the noise, and that adds some real gnarliness to it. But if I do that, I'm gonna think it's muted because that looks really loud. It's still muted. Sort of weird. Oh, that's because this is. There it is. So you can see how a lot of that, like, it has the saturation that I wanted, but it also has a lot of totally unwanted higher frequency activity. So, a little bass. Now, let's see where we are now with all the stuff. Hilarious. Okay. A lot of this will start to make sense. Actually, so first I'm going to put in, just have this here. This is coming at the end. All of this will be compressed together. I also want to put in a little bit of reverb, but this is like a tiny bit. It's not going to be that big here. And yeah, too much, but what is doing that? What is still going? Is that sounds like this guy, I think. Oh, it's the first guy. That's weird. Ah. It wasn't all the way down. So my harmonics aren't sounding quite in the harmonic range that I want. That sounds kind of nice. It's not entirely working out yet, but you can hear how sort of what the point of that is. And then also the point of having this here is to do pretty much the same thing that we did with the other guy, because the beefiness of it created some motion that I'm not too fond of. So we're doing this articulator 2 because we're going to make a slightly different articulation, but not that different, but different enough. Nice. Okay. We're looking good. I want to turn down the harmonic a bit. So let's see how well this fares under compression, because now we want to kind of compress it all together to make it make sense. So this actually has pretty much all the parts of a real snare. You can kind of see how they interact, and this is usually how I compress them. I separate out the fundamental to be its own thing, and then the mids and the highs are fighting between sort of the papery high frequency noise or the clappy mid-range sounds. And if this is going to be a bit of a more of a papery one, I find that actually feels better and works more for dubstepy kind of stuff. Same as before, we're going to ensure that all the time variables are fast. I think I did that for this one. Yeah, it was only going through the master. These guys weren't doing anything, so it wasn't super hardcore. Yeah, actually, let's keep that up. So the full force of the transient hitting there, which would be real interesting. The value of the speed, the release in the head and that kind of thing is that when you have higher frequency sounds, you can have them move faster and react faster without distorting things. So that the lower values have to have more time to react because they are longer frequencies and thus will distort if they are too fast. Kind of like this. Yeah, we can also separate stereo while we're here. In some aspects. I mean, the lowers. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. Ah, but we can hear it. We can hear it start to be a thing. All right, so here's the part where we now know that we need to fix some stuff. We can hear, because we can hear it as a kind of its own whole thing. So we come in here, like for example. And the harmonic. You can make the case that you may not want to have the harmonic, but I kind of like the harmonic, but I want it to work better. That's what happens when you don't end your envelopes. If you play a note fast enough, you can hear it kind of hitch on some things, and sometimes it sounds pretty cool. And I think often that it might actually make a pretty great, like a trap effect. Still requires just to be a bit higher. I guess it could stand to being a bit more subtle, but these also can ring out a little bit more, so it's actually gonna have its own reverb, and it'll feed into. Am I using the right one? Oh, there's some motion in there I don't like. Yeah, high pass it is. Still kind of feel the noise. And the post distortion. That feels a little better. That actually sounds pretty good. So we're doing okay. This is, again, like, this is about as far as I want to take it with this. Like the kick, we're going to change probably a lot of it when we actually have a mix. But kind of the cool thing about making everything like this from scratch is that not only, I mean, when you have a sample, you're limited to either layering it with other samples or EQing and compressing it. You can do kind of a lot, obviously, with sampling, but in terms of fixing it and mixing it, that kind of thing. But if you have total control over every aspect of it from the ground up, then the kind of solutions you can do to fix things are much more elegant. Things like, oh, you know, you like every other aspect of it except for where the fundamental is. You can move just the fundamental around. And that kind of thing. So you have a lot more control over stuff. And this will be pretty good. Snare. Snare. All right, we have ourselves a kick and a snare. Nice. All right, well, that ends I guess the optional portion of this creation of this song. Everything else now will be a bit more regular, but still pretty awesome. So let's move on with the rest of the stuff.